I will be drafting for the Giants.
And this is Tom. I'm going to be drafting for the New York Jets.
All right, so we both used a mock draft simulator on the draftnetwork.com to make it as realistic as possible. And with my first pick, number 4 overall, I'm going to pick Isaiah Simmons from Clemson, the linebacker / safety, also known as the Avenger, because he really has no position. He just plays defense. But honestly, I've been on Simmons for a really long time. I'm a Clemson fan. My mom and Pop live up in Clemson, and I watch all their games the last 2 years. I was on Simmons back in 2018. He's someone the Giants desperately need. He's so athletic. He can play all different positions. He can play safety. He can. One thing that's actually really underrated about his game is the way he can blitz off the edge. He could blitz up the middle. So stopping those like fast quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson as like a QB spy, I feel like he would be perfect for that. He could just do so many different things. He could guard guys out of the slot. If the Giants go Simmons, I feel like that's a home run pick. Part of me even would like Simmons more than Chase Young. So I was upset when we lost the number 2 spot in the draft. But what are your thoughts about that? Chase Young versus Simmons?
Well, if I were the Jets, I would pick Chase Young in a second because the Jets haven't had a good pass rush since the likes of John Abraham and Sean Ellis. So Chase Young would really look good in green, but the Jets won 7 games, so they're not picking where I would have liked to or where we thought we were going to pick after 4 games and Sam Darnold coming down with mono. But I really love the Isaiah Simmons pick just based on how big he is, 6'4", 230. He has a linebacker size, but he's a safety. And I just think you can put him anywhere on the field, and he's going to excel, especially just how in coverage, how the NFL's going, just covering tight ends, running backs. I think he's going to excel anywhere on the field. But I would rather, if I were the Jets, I'd rather have Chase Young.
Yeah, I like what you said about his size too, because he's 239 pounds and he ran the 4.39 40-yard dash, which is just ridiculous. And
insane. Did you watch that in the combine? Just like the way he moves is absolutely incredible.
I mean, he's a former track guy. They actually used to call him Slimmons back in high school because he was like, I don't remember exactly what he weighed coming out of high school, but he wasn't as big as he was now. He kind of bulked up through the years. And yeah, I mean, I would love him for the Giants, just guarding those like awesome tight ends in the NFC East, like Zach Ertz, who's always killed the Giants. He would just be perfect for that. And we've had trouble against tight ends for so many years. It sounds like a small thing, but I feel like that can really make like our defense so much better, and we need a playmaker. So
I have heard the argument on New York sports radio that the Giants fans, everything really starts with the defense, going back to Lawrence Taylor, Harry Carson. You love seeing guys in the middle, even if it's, I don't know, going back to Antonio Pierce.
Yeah. That 2007 defense. I don't know if you watched on Sunday. They had the rematch of the Super Bowl 42. And just watching that defense, it's like it seems like so long ago when we had a good defense like that with those pass rushers. We had the linebackers like Antonio Pierce, like you said. So if you watched our games last year, we were good enough on offense to win a lot of those games. It's just our defense couldn't stop anyone. Even in Daniel Jones' first win of the season, we only won that game because they missed the last-second field goal. They drove right down the field, Tampa Bay, at the end. So I really like Simmons. Who would you go with the Jets' first pick in the first round?
All right. So pick number 11. The Jets could go 2 ways here, in my estimation, and that's either a wide receiver or an offensive lineman. And in my mind, I think I'm taking Jedrick Wills out of Alabama, the tackle.
Oh, I love that pick. Actually.
I just think that may not have the ceiling of Becton or Wirfs, may not have the athleticism, but if you look at his footwork on the outside, I just think he's a low floor player. We have Joe Douglas as our GM. I just think he wants to revamp the offensive line. They signed a couple guys, but I think he's a plug him in at right tackle.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go.
I totally agree with you about just plugging him in at right tackle. people talk about, oh, we can switch over to left tackle, but right tackle is like also a premier position. You know, you can't get away with just having some Joe Schmo out there at right tackle. So I think Wills is probably like the most polished, it seems like, out of those offensive linemen. And all those 4 top offensive linemen, I feel like are in, you know, a similar range, but like production on the field, it just seems like Wills is the safest bet. So I like that pick at number 11 a lot.
But
Jets.
that being said, if Thomas is there, I'm not going to hate it.
Yeah, Thomas is someone I also like a lot. I mean, he's a pure left tackle, and even like on the Georgia Bulldogs, I like Isaiah Wilson as a possible second rounder. But we'll get to that because with my second pick in the second round, number 36, for the Giants. So I went safety linebacker hybrid with my first pick. So my second pick might be a little controversial, but I feel like he fills a really big need. And it's going to be Antoine Winfield Jr., safety out of Minnesota. I watched his game against Penn State. I watched a couple of his games. I watched a lot of tape from him, researching my articles on gmenhq.com. And he just seems like such a playmaker. And we've been lacking that like deep center fielder that can cover like the deep half of the field, the deep zones. And he had, I believe, seven interceptions in 2019. He just has a knack for making big plays. He's undersized. I think he's only 5'9", but his dad was like an all-pro cornerback in the NFL.
His dad was undersized too, so he had a good career. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel he reminds me a little bit of Earl Thomas. I might be going overboard by saying that, but I just feel like he has that knack for like making a play on the ball and being in the right place at the right time. He's able to bait quarterbacks into making a throw and just being in the right place. He has a little bit of a durability issue because last year was like his first full season playing in college football. But I don't know. I just really like his tape. I have a good feeling about him. It was tough to pass up on some of these like offensive tackles, but I feel like he's worth it. Go with the guy with the biggest upside, in my opinion.
No, I like that. All right. So
who did you go with second round?
So second round at pick 48. Since the Jets did not pick a receiver in the first round, I think they have to go receiver in the second round. And I'm torn between a couple guys.
But you're on the clock right now.
I know.
You're the GM. Is it Joe Thomas? What's his name?
Joe Douglas.
Joe Douglas. All right. So you're Joe Douglas. You're on the clock. You got a couple of receivers.
Okay.
There are a lot of really good receivers in this draft.
This might be a little bit of a reach, but I want to make sure he's there before our next pick. But I'm going to take Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame.
Ooh, I like it. The big-bodied receiver.
He's big, 6'4", 229. He might be limited in his routes, but you can't deny the athleticism.
They said the same thing last year about that receiver that went to Seattle.
DK Metcalf?
DK Metcalf, yeah. I mean, he's just like a physical specimen. And Claypool has that like size, speed combo. You could throw him the jump balls. I feel like he could help Darnold a lot since you guys lost Robbie Anderson. So
the other receiver that I would think about taking here would be Shenault from Colorado.
He's more of a speed guy, right?
Yeah, but he's pretty big. He's 6'2", 220, kind of more in that like AJ Brown mold on the Titans. But I'm gonna go with Claypool because the Jets need help at receiver.
Yeah, I like the Notre Dame guy. People have been talking about Claypool possibly moving the tight end, but I don't see it. I think he can handle himself on the outside. He has the speed. Yeah, he has the speed to beat guys vertically. So he's someone the Jets would like a lot. All right, so my pick in the third round, unfortunately, was traded by our general manager for Leonard Williams to you guys. So you guys have some extra picks to work with in this range of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you like as your first third round pick?
All right. So in the third round at 68, this is kind of an out there pick, and I wasn't totally sure who to select, but in my simulate, I'm not going to be superstitious based off the Jets drafting Ja'Kai Polite in a similar spot last year.
He
But
didn't work out. Didn't they release him already?
yeah, he didn't even make the team out of camp.
That's
But
not a good pick.
I'm going to go with another Florida edge player. I'm going to pick Jonathan Greenard out of Florida. He's number 58, 6'4", 262. He used to play at Louisville before he got hurt, and he played at Florida for his final year. I think he'd be a good off-the-edge player, playmaker. I've heard he's a good character guy, pretty much the opposite of Ja'Kai Polite. So the Jets need all the help they can get on the edge. They're kind of good up front as far and D-tackle, middle linebacker once C.J. Mosley comes back. So we need help on the edge. I'm going with Greenard out of Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I always say you take a chance on these edge rushers because after quarterback, I feel like edge rusher is the most important position on like a contender. So, you take chances on guys with high upside, high character guys like that. So my next pick is number 99. Do you have another pick? Do the Jets have another pick before 99?
We have 79.
Okay, so you would go next.
Okay, let me simulate out, and then I'll.
All right, so you're on the clock. All right, you're waiting to be on the clock.
Give me a couple of minutes. Give me a couple seconds to. All right, hold on.
Yeah, so for the Giants, we don't have a pick after 36 all the way to 99 because that Leonard Williams trade. That was a ripoff.
All right, how do you feel about that trade in retrospect?
I mean, I like Leonard Williams as a player. I don't think he was worth trading a high valued third round pick for because he would have been a free agent anyway. We could have signed him in free agency if we really wanted him. We ended up having to franchise tag him, so we're paying him like $16 million for his like production last year, where I think he had maybe 1 or 2 sacks. He's better than like a 2-sack player. I feel like he did help us against the run when he came over from the Jets, but I just really didn't like that trade. I don't know what Gettleman was thinking. We weren't like in contention last year, so. Are you guys on the clock?
Yep. So for this one, we're going to take a less polished player, but we're going to pick offensive lineman again. And we're going to pick Prince Tega Wanahogo out of Auburn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the two positions in this draft that have the deepest positions, I would say, are wide receiver and offensive tackle. So you're getting good value with those kind of picks. Both positions are really deep this year, and the Jets and the Giants have needs at those positions. The Jets especially at receiver, but the Giants might take a receiver, and I will be taking one soon. But my next pick at number 99 is Matthew Pert, and I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he's the offensive tackle from Connecticut. He has New York roots. He's actually from the Bronx. He's a high upside guy, very athletic. He has like the perfect size, length, athleticism that you'd want from an offensive tackle. He needs to add some strength to his frame for the run game. So he's not someone that would come in right away and like automatically be the starter at right or left tackle for the Giants. But Joe Judge is all about competition. Best man wins. He's someone that can compete for that right tackle spot. So I like that pick, Matthew Pert, in the 3rd round.
How do you feel about the Joe Judge hiring in general?
I mean, when I heard that they were interviewing someone named Joe Judge, I had never heard of him before.
I had never heard of him either.
Yeah. I think like even the most diehard Giants fans had never heard of him. He was just a special teams coach for the Patriots. He also coached the receivers last year. I mean, everything he said though, like since he's been hired, I've liked. Like I've liked his philosophy. I've liked how he said, he's gonna, play the best players. He's gonna have like a versatile team. He's gonna play to the strength of his players. He's not gonna be scheme specific or try to fit players into a certain scheme. So everything he said so far sounds great, but we'll see when the season starts. It's going to be kind of tough without these mini camps and with what's going on with new coaches, especially someone coming to the Giants. But I've liked what I heard so far from him. So
you have next, right?
yeah, I'm pick 110. So at the top of the fourth round, I was actually really surprised he fell this far, and I really like him. I talked about him on the Entertainers video yesterday that I was a guest on his show. But Tyler Johnson, I got with pick 110, another Minnesota player. So I got two guys from Minnesota. But he's a very underrated receiver. He doesn't have the speed of like a Chase Claypool. He's not as flashy as like a Judy or a CeeDee Lamb or a Chenault, but he's a very productive player. I feel like he's definitely starting caliber in the NFL. I did watch that game against Penn State. I keep talking about that game, but it just stuck out to me. There's two undefeated teams, and he kind of took over that game on offense. Winfield took over that game on defense. But he was good all year for Minnesota. Minnesota had a great season. I like that pick. Tyler Johnson, 110 overall. So your next pick is a little bit further in the fourth round.
120, I believe, fourth round. And for this pick, I'm going to go with Darrington Evans, running back out of Appalachian State. So
I've actually heard good things about him.
So in a perfect world, I would love it if the Jets picked like Jonathan Taylor or someone like that in the second round with their first picks in the first 3 rounds. But I don't see it gelling a guy like Jonathan Taylor and a guy like Le'Veon Bell in the same backfield. So yeah. I can't picture that working, but Evans is a little more, he's a smaller guy. I feel like he could work in passing downs. Adam Gase is a guy that likes to use running backs, and he likes guys who aren't like Le'Veon Bell cow guys. So I feel like a smaller, versatile guy would work well for the Jets. I've never been a big Bilal Powell guy his whole career, even though he did look better than Le'Veon Bell this year. I don't know.
Yeah,
I never thought he was that good.
He didn't hide the fact that he wasn't a Le'Veon Bell fan. He wasn't a fan of giving all that money to a running back. So, you can definitely see the Jets going to a running back by committee kind of plan. And, these running backs, maybe 5-10 years ago would have been first, second rounders. But now, I feel like the position's value has gone down so much.
The position's value has gone down, but they're still able to make a big impact. I mean, look at a guy like Devin Singletary for the Bills who did pretty well.
Yeah, out of FAU.
Or a guy small school running backs, you can't discount him, I don't think.
Yeah, and even the 49ers, those 3 running backs, that 3-headed monster. I mean, it really carried him through the playoffs. Garoppolo, he's been a solid addition. In the Super Bowl, he wasn't that great, and even in the playoffs, he didn't do much. It was all those running backs and offensive line. So if you get a few of those good running backs together, it could be a good recipe. But all right, so my next pick. What was that?
You're up next, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna pick with my 150th overall pick in the 5th round, Trevis Gipson, who's one of the players I featured in my sleepers column on gmenhq.com. Okay. Trevis Gipson is someone who's a high upside guy. He's definitely raw. He needs to work on his pass rushing skills. He's from a small school from Tulsa, but we've had a lot of luck with those small school pass rushers OC Umenyiora. I'm not saying he's going to be another OC, but last year we took Oshane Ximines, who also has, a lot of pass rushing talent. He's very promising last year. He was doing well towards the end of the season. So Trevis Gipson's someone I like a lot. He's one of those guys that plays with the chip on their shoulder, and I was looking for guys like that when I was researching all the different players. So he's someone who's a football guy. He wants to work at his craft. He just loves the game. So Trevis Gipson's my 5th round pick. So who do you guys taking 5th round?
5th round at 158. I'm gonna go with Javelin Guidry, cornerback out of Utah. Smaller guy, 5'9", 188, man coverage. You can never have too many defensive backs. So a guy who can play nickel and pass stuff.
I feel like nickel corner is such like an underrated spot. That, teams are starting to value that a lot more. And another player I talked about in my column from Utah was Terrell Burgess.
Okay.
And they have Justin Blackman at safety too. So they had a really strong secondary. I think they were ranked in the top 5 on defense. So if you could get a couple of those guys on your team, you could be in good shape. I think that's a solid pick for the Jets. Later in the draft, you want to get those nickel corners because you're going to need multiple corners throughout the season.
If you can get guys who can contribute, period, in these rounds, I think think it's a win.
Yeah, and my next guy, my 6th round pick, is all special teams, basically. Joe Reed, wide receiver out of Virginia, one of my other sleepers that I highlighted in my latest column. But Joe Reed had 5 touchdown kickoff returns. So he's explosive. He's 225 pounds, 6'1". So he's like that big-bodied receiver that you can give the ball to and on those reverses and those little gadget plays because he's really good run after the catch. He's not like an advanced route runner like a Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson's strength is his route running and getting open, but Joe Reed, he's good after the catch, so you give him those little screen passes. But he's going to make his money on special teams. He could even play as like a gunner, and Joe Judge is the next special teams coach, so he's someone that they're going to want. I feel like he's going to be targeted by the Giants. I just have a feeling about it. But
that's a good one. Next one is me, I believe.
Yeah, so this is the end of the 6th round, or right after the Giants. I picked 183 for Joe Reed.
Okay, so I have 191. I'm gonna go defensive backfield again. I'm gonna go with Antoine Brooks, safety, Maryland. There's been rumblings in the Jets world that we're going to lose Jamal Adams, which I think would be a travesty.
Oh, that would be terrible.
Player. But Antoine Brooks is in the mold of Jamal Adams. He's a hard-hitting in the box safety. Maybe has some deficiencies in pass coverage. But like I said with the last pick, you can never have too many defensive backs. So I'm going to go with Brooks out of Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the NFL today, it's most of the game is played in those like nickel packages where you have 3-4 receivers on the field. If you get those kind of like hybrid linebacker safety guys, in sub packages, I feel like you can earn a spot on the field definitely. But my next pick is actually my favorite player from this draft. I feel like it's the most fun player. J.J. Taylor, running back out of Arizona. 5'5", 185 pounds, but he actually runs with power. He's not just like one of those scat backs who, will avoid contact and tries to make people miss. He runs through people, so he's a lot of fun to watch. And I mean, me and you played football growing up. You played a little bit of college, so a lot more than me. But I just remember trying to tackle like the smaller running backs. It was always the harder because you would like lose them behind the offensive lineman. So
the pad level is so much lower. So it's
low man. So yeah, I would love him in the 7th round for the Giants. I know running back's not a position of need for us. We have Saquon. We just signed Dion Lewis, who's like a solid, backup pass catching 3rd down back. But
I've always liked Dion Lewis.
Yeah, I thought he was really good on New England. He had a couple of good years. They had like that running back cut by committee, and last year he backed up Derrick Henry, so he didn't get that many touches, but whenever he gets a chance, I feel like he's solid. So, all right. So I picked 218. What's your next pick?
I think we skipped it. I actually have 211, but
okay.
That's my last pick.
So, that's your last pick. You don't have any 7th rounders. Okay.
No, I don't have anything in the 7th. So for this one, I'm gonna go with Raequan Williams, defensive tackle, Michigan State. I don't know. I remember seeing him play in college. I wouldn't say he's the most explosive player, but run blocker, need depth on the defensive line. That's all I got for Williams.
I feel like they always have solid defense over there. So I have 3 picks in the 7th round and also Mr. Irrelevant. But
you have Mr. Irrelevant this year?
Yeah, the Giants. Yeah. So
okay. straight with them.
Yeah, I'll go through them a little quickly. So my first 7th-round pick is Jon Runyan, who might sound familiar because his
Yes,
dad
yes,
was
I saw him in the simulations. Remember
yeah,
his father.
yeah. So his dad was like the arch nemesis of Michael Strahan for all those years playing for the Eagles. But he was a Pro Bowl player, and Runyan was pretty good for Michigan. He's a good run blocker. So we need a long-term solution at left tackle and right tackle. So it's not like we could just worry about one side. We don't have Soldier's going to be leaving soon. Our right tackle, Cam Fleming, is, he's a stopgap kind of guy. So Runyan is someone we could take a flyer on. My next 7th-round pick, Robert Windsor, who's the inside defensive lineman.
Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State. Yeah. So we actually have the Penn State's defensive line coach, Sean Spencer. They call him Coach Chaos. And Windsor's that ultimate motor guy who like hustles and gets those hustle sacks.
I remember watching him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like researching him on YouTube. There's a clip of him going up against Tyler Biadasz, who's like a center a lot of Giants fans really want. And he sort of just like manhandles him and just sacks the quarterback in like a split second. So he's one of those guys that supposedly has good wrist control.
He was 54, right?
Number 54? He hit the linebacker number, but inside at like D tackle, kind of undersized. Yeah, so I feel like he's someone that the defensive line coach probably knows a lot about. So he'll be on the Giants' radar. And then my last pick is a player out of Miami that some people are reminded of Tyreek Hill when they see him. And he's kind of gone under the radar. He's Jeff Thomas, who's a receiver. He's like 5'9", 170 pounds, but he's very fast. I think he had a 4.45 40, but he's really quick. So last year I went to the Miami LSU opening game of the 2018 season in AT&T Stadium in Dallas, and he was torturing the LSU secondary. Like he had, I think, 150 yards receiving. So shout out to Dylan if you're watching this late in the video. But yeah, we went to the game. We saw that. We were very much disappointed because Miami got destroyed. That was Joe Burrow's first game actually starting for LSU, and I wasn't really that impressed with him when I watched him then. But last year he was just ridiculous. But yeah, Jeff Thomas, my last pick. He has some kind of character off the field issues because the coach wasn't too fond of some of the things he did. But I feel like he's worth taking a late round flyer on as Mr. Irrelevant. So yeah, that's my last pick.
There we go.
Do you have like a favorite pick before we end it?
A favorite pick of mine, besides, I think, I'm going with Claypool in the second round because he has the highest upside. Receivers, we saw what receivers can do in their first year. We know the track record on first-round receivers isn't that great in the past 5-10 years. But it is pretty good once you get back in the draft. And if you can make a connection with Darnold, I think that would be benefit the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, and Michael Thomas was a second-round pick out of Ohio State a couple of years ago. And now you can consider him the best receiver in the NFL right now. I mean, with the stats and stuff. So you never know. Maybe Claypool ends up being the best out of like all these awesome receivers in this draft. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, obviously I like Simmons. I'm very biased. But besides him, I really like Antoine Winfield. Like if he fell to the Giants in the second round, I feel like that would be such a good pick. I could see the Jets also targeting him.
Where is he projected otherwise?
I saw in Todd McShay's latest mock, he had him, I think, actually 19. Okay. So he's been like climbing up those mock drafts and those draft boards.
And is he more of a classic like free safety?
Yeah, he's more of a free safety. Like some people questioned his range, but then at the combine he ran a 4.45 40. So he has the speed. He doesn't look like overly explosive or fast on tape, but I mean he ran that at the combine. He did a good job, I thought, in Minnesota. So Jets and Giants, they're kind of looking for similar players on defense and offense. Jets, I think if you guys get a receiver like that, you're gonna get one of these good receivers. I feel like
in the first two rounds.
Yeah, the first.
There's even rumors about Jets going receiver in the first round.
If you could have any receiver in this draft, would it be Claypool, or is there someone that you like better, maybe in the first round?
Well, I like I like. I was Judy for a little while,
Yeah,
but if they got CeeDee Lamb, I just think he's a huge playmaker. What he can do after the catch,
yeah.
I don't know.
He yeah, he seems like a little bit like a Odell Beckham sort of with like the amazing catches he gets. He doesn't have like the most blazing speed like Ruggs or some of those other receivers, but he just
No.
gets the job done. Yeah, and like Judy had Tua throwing him like perfect passes for the last couple of years, so you don't know if that factored into it. I think he'll be good too, but
What is your
uh,
opinion on, do you have an opinion on Higgins, on T. Higgins from Clemson?
yeah, I like Higgins. I always kind of wanted him for the Giants because we do need that big-bodied receiver.
Mhm.
I just feel like he did kind of get banged up a lot. Like in the semifinal against Ohio State, he was like in and out of the game. He wasn't that great against LSU in the finals. Yeah, he struggles a little bit with separation. I feel like he's just like the guy you kind of throw it up to because he's big and he is a good receiver. I just don't know if the value's there in like the second round where he's probably going to go for the Giants because when you have so many needs, you know.
Yeah,
So
the Jets. Even if they pick, he probably won't fall to the second round. But Justin Jefferson, LSU. I don't know if the Jets picked him, I'd be okay
yeah,
with that.
I think he's going to be really good as like a slot receiver. He was so good in that like semifinal game. I think he had something like 4 or 5 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah, I think even better than him for next year's draft was Jamar Chase, the other LSU
Yeah.
receiver. I thought he was the best player on the field in that game against Ohio State.
Yeah, he really did take it over. Like Terrell, who's like possibly a first round cornerback for Clemson, and he was just like toasting him. So, like he made Tanner Muse just kind of fall down on one of those plays where he kicked him out of his shoes. So I think like out of all these receivers, he would probably go first out of all of them if he was eligible this year. So he's
Uh,
someone to look out for in 2021.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest Ruggs fan, especially not at 11. I think that's way too high to pick a small receiver like that.
Yeah.
I do get.
Can't you just see Kansas City getting him? They get all those good small receivers. I feel like he's kind of they probably have too many of them at this point. They have like Hardman and Tyreek Hill.
If
But
we get Billy on, he has a couple things to say about that as far as the 49ers and the Chiefs, because you're talking about like up matching, just like you do the best thing in the league and just do it better than anybody else and just be unstoppable if you had that much speed on the field.
yeah, you just get good at one thing. You just focus on your strength and you just like really go really hard at it. That's a good point. That's kind of what you have to do. You have to have that identity or whatever. And Kansas City and 49ers definitely have it. So yeah, the next one we should get Billy on here. He'd probably be like an interesting guy to talk to about the Jets too.
We could do like alternating picks where like every third pick somebody gets it and they pick for that team.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool actually. Like, would we be the Jets and Giants again, or would you want to pick like a third team?
No, we could do like a first round where
Pick every single team.
in the
We
first
could just
round,
do like
yeah.
the first few rounds, yeah, or we could just do the first one. That's
Everybody,
a good idea.
you get 1, 4, and 7 or whatever, and then I'll pick 2, 5, and 8 or whatever it works out to.
Yeah. All right, so I'll stop the recording. I've been